How does the economic climate affect the businesses? The economic climate has a big impact on businesses. That's the true. But the level of consumer spending that affect the price, the commodity market, investment decisions, and the number of workers that the business is involved with or employ with this is also affected. Why should the businesses bother about the climate change and global warming? Firstly, the companies can aim to improve their rescue productivity. For example, by increasing the energy efficiency, thereby reducing their cost. Secondly, climate change can spur those innovations, make some hindrance to the innovative mechanism, create a problematic situation for the innovation progress and those inspiring new product and the services which are less carbon incentive or which enable carbon reduction by others in terms of comparison, and the global warming effect, the direct consequences of the climate change on trade that could also become a manifest in damages to trade from one frequent extreme weather event or rising sea level scenario. The currently most endangered condition is for the environmental situation is rising sea levels, that the agreement in the Paris Climate Agreement for the 1.5 degree centigrade above the current temperature rise, that the alarming limit or warning limit that the supply for the global warming issues has generated, and all the United Nations organs are warned for this threshold value of 1.5 degree centigrade, and the transport and distribution change might become more vulnerable to disruptions due to the climate change. And according to the US Environmental Protection Agency's industrial and commercial use of energy sector and the sources for electricity product transportation, industrial process burning fossil fuels, and other important factor for the gasoline product produce steam and power vehicle account to nearby 30% of the total US market, and the climate change affect badly for the impact on the businesses. The impact are expected to fall disproportionately on SMEs, including disrupting business operations, property damage, disruption to supply chain and infrastructure, leading to increased the cost of maintenance and materials and rising prices. The environmental sustainability issues and how the global warming could affect this corporate valuation. The the value of corporation stock, that the effect of global warming. And the consulting firm McKinsey and Company undertook a joint project with this Carbon Trust UK research organization, that the resulting research found that the large reduction in greenhouse gases emission needed to stop the climate change, that will create the significant opportunities and the risk for most companies. Well positioned, forward thinking corporation could, for example, increase the company's values and number of share outstanding, and the company's 65% of the value at risk in some industrial sector. And it's also be noted that the oil and gas sector will have a very few opportunities in especially exploration and production, but many risks also involve on that particular issues. The negative impact that overall is generating for failing the cash flows and the stock prices for the companies in those sectors. In contrast, Many building materials sector will benefit from rising demand for improved energy efficiency and insulation products, leading to increasing cash flows and stock prices. And is also the sector that is involved for the good positions, the consumer electronics, and that make their product significantly more energy efficient by reducing the active and standby power consumptions and at a low and diminishing cost. That's the effect of this climate change will generate for the corporate value and the stock industry. And better prepared those companies should do well, by the laggard is likely to face serious cash flow problem and falling those stock prices. Through the strategy, we can say that it's around the common strategy that involving the productivity improvement and the revenue growth, the corporate experience with the balanced scorecard that reveals that a firm should tailor the system to suit its situations, not just adopt it as a cookbook approach. When the balanced scorecard complements those corporate strategy that improve the performance, and using this method in mechanistic fashion without any link to strategy that hinders the performance and may even decreased. Through this strategy, audit and compensation committee and the direct board of director closely evaluate the job performances of the CEO and the top management team. The vast majority of Americans, European, Asians, and the board reviews for the formalized processes, and the member of this committee are directly generally have some ability to establish those strategic directions. And during the strategy formulation and those implementation, the top management approves the series of programs and supporting the responsibility centers and those operating budget from the business unit. During this evaluation and control, the actual expenses are contrasted by the planned expenditure. Transfer those pricing that is a common for the integrated corporation can work well with this scenario for the climate issues. And we can say that the climate change is impacted for the global economy worldwide. 18% of the total GDP by 2050 that is be whiffed off, and the global temperature rise by 3.2 degrees centigrade. And warmer those temperatures, sea level rise, and extreme weather and damaged property and critical infrastructure impact these human health and productivity and negatively impact and affected those sectors such as agriculture, forestry, fisheries, tourism, and many other important sectors that is affected. And a huge portion of climate change or global warming can be attributed to a reliance on industry activities over the years, and these toxic material and gases are burned and released into the atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide and methane, and global warming can lead to those rising sea level that create a tremendous endangered condition for the human being, for the entire humanity across the globe. And this can affect those many industries, as I mentioned in the effect for the forestry, fishery, tourism, agriculture. All this economy will be affected for the global warming, and it will be damage to the property of infrastructure, mass migration, security threat, lost productivity, and rising sea level also likely harm these economic output and businesses. For the people suffer their damages to lost their homes. There's all the consequences for the business, industry, the corporate sectors. The corporate stock value that will be affected for the economic crisis, face those economic crises due to the global warming, the climate issues, and many other important sectors also hamper subsequently due to this environmental degradation and sudden, or you can say gradually change in these conditions. I mean, in these environmental situations that will arise globally. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.